Good morning, Manna fam. So great to be here with you. This week we've been going through the essential elements of biblical trust. Yesterday we discussed understanding, and today we're going to look at how motive influences trust. And all of this is based in biblical principles, and it's also supplemented by commentary from Dr. Henry Cloud in his book, Trust. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it. It's definitely changed how I interact with people when I'm seeking to either communicate or build trust or discern whether or not I should be giving trust to others. And so as we look at motive, I want to start with this verse today. You're going to be very familiar with it. It's John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Now, normally we look at this verse in the context of evangelism, but if you look at that very beginning piece, it actually clues us into one of many reasons why we can trust God, and that's that his motive is pure and righteous. He has our best interests at heart. He loves us. So how can we apply that when discerning who to trust in our day-to-day interactions? Well, we need to know their motive. Do they have our best interests at heart? Can we trust that they don't just care about themselves at the expense of our interests, but that they actually have our best interests at heart? And this can be harder to determine than you might think, and I'll give you an example. One of my most challenging jobs I ever had was on brigade staff in the 95th Civil Affairs Brigade, and one of my most challenging bosses was Major Scott Smith. That was the hardest I ever worked, regularly showing up at 6 a.m. and working until 8 or 9 p.m., so 15-hour days. And one looking from the outside in could say that seems self-serving on his part, except very early on in our official capacity relationship, he sat us down early and said, hey, we're going to work really hard, but our intent is we want to have the best customer service possible we can for all the battalions as they're operationally deployed. And also, I'm going to push you as staff captains, but know that I'm seeking to develop you professionally, not just to get the most work out of you that I can. And so because he laid out his motive early on, and then his actions supported or weren't contradictory to that stated motive, it meant that all of us on the staff trusted him, even though he pushed us harder than any of us had been pushed before. And even though it could have been easy to feel like he was using us, we understood, tying back into the first day, right? We got to understand, but we also understood his motive, what he was seeking to accomplish. And that ensured that even though we were dog tired for those 9 months, we trusted him every step of the way. So I would ask you, Manna fam, examine your motive. Are you pushing people to make yourself look good, or for their development and the sake of the mission? Can your family trust you with how you're leading them? I'll give you a negative example to look at the flip side of it. A friend of mine, Bert, who was a cadet back at Virginia Tech, he famously said, I'll do whatever it takes to climb over anyone it takes to get to the top. And sure enough, Bert did. He was the cadet battalion commander by the end of his senior year. But along that way, he burned every bridge he had, and no one trusted him as a leader, myself included. So come back tomorrow as we take a look at how not just understanding and motive are tied to trust, but also ability. See you then, Manna fam.